Have you ever wondered why we can love someone deeply, yet feel the fire slowly fade? Why the very person who once made your heart race now feels familiar, predictable, even distant? You see, in long-term relationships, we often assume that love guarantees desire. But love and desire are not the same language. Love thrives on closeness, on knowing, on safety, on togetherness. Desire, on the other hand, needs space. It breathes in mystery, in curiosity, in the unknown. So we spend years building a life together, sharing a home, bills, memories, and then we wonder why passion doesn't live where routine thrives. We've confused stability with excitement and comfort with aliveness. The secret to desire isn't about fixing what's broken. It's about rediscovering what's alive. In you, in your partner, and in the space between you. It's about remembering that eroticism isn't just about sex. It's the energy of imagination, play, curiosity, the spark that says, I see you not as mine but as someone I still want to discover. Because the truth is, desire doesn't die. It hides behind comfort, behind roles, behind the predictable rhythm of our lives. And when we learn to balance love with longing, safety with freedom, that's when desire quietly returns. So stay with me, because by the end of this talk, you might not just understand desire better. You might feel it again. Thank you for being here. And if this resonates, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this message with someone who needs to hear it. For more insights, reflections, and emotional wisdom, stay tuned. Let's begin with the first truth. Most couples never fully understand. Love and desire are not the same thing. They live side by side, but they speak different languages. Love is about having, desire is about wanting. Love thrives in the familiar, in the safety of knowing that someone will be there when you come home. Desire, on the other hand, is born in the space between two people, in that delicate tension of distance, curiosity, and the unknown. When we fall in love, both coexist effortlessly. In the early stages, everything feels electric. The other person is both known and mysterious. Every word, every look carries anticipation. But over time, something shifts. We trade spontaneity for routine, passion for comfort, and the excitement of discovery for the assurance of belonging. And slowly we begin to wonder where the fire went. It's not that we've fallen out of love. In fact, sometimes the deeper the love, the more elusive the desire becomes, because the very things that make love strong, security, care, predictability, are the same things that can make desire fade. Desire needs uncertainty. It needs to feel a bit of risk, a spark of the unknown to stay alive. Yet most of us build relationships that are designed to eliminate uncertainty entirely. We crave emotional safety. But we forget that safety alone can't sustain erotic energy. The paradox is that the stability we work so hard to create often comes at the cost of excitement. When everything becomes certain, when we know our partner too well, we stop wondering. And when we stop wondering, we stop wanting. Think about it. In the beginning, you looked at your partner through the lens of curiosity. You didn't yet know what they would say, how they would touch you, what would make them laugh. Desire fed on that mystery. But once we start believing we know everything there is to know, we stop seeing our partner and start managing them. The relationship becomes efficient, safe, predictable, and passion quietly slips out the back door. The challenge then is not to choose between love and desire, but to hold both, to find a rhythm between the warmth of closeness and the spark of distance. That means accepting that love will always move towards security, while desire will always seek freedom. We need both to feel alive. Too much distance and we feel lonely. Too much closeness and we feel suffocated. The art is in the balance. Desire asks a daring question. Can I want what I already have? Can I be drawn to the person I know so well, not because they are new, but because I choose to see them anew? That choice, to remain curious, to keep discovering, is what keeps desire breathing in long-term love. Because ultimately, desire isn't something we lose, it's something we stop cultivating. And when we learn to hold safety and mystery in the same embrace, love no longer replaces desire. It becomes the foundation that allows it to thrive. The paradox of love and desire isn't a problem to solve. It's an invitation to grow. When we learn to honor both our need for closeness and our hunger for mystery, we stop asking love to do what only desire can, and in that balance, passion quietly returns, not as something new, but as something finally understood. One of the most common misunderstandings in long-term relationships is the belief that love means becoming one. We celebrate phrases like my other half or we complete each other, as if the merging of two people into one identity is the highest expression of intimacy. But in doing so, we often forget that desire is not born from fusion, it's born from separation. The moment we stop seeing our partner as an individual, as someone distinct with their own inner world, we begin to lose the mystery that fuels attraction. In the early stages of a relationship, we are captivated because there's still so much we don't know. Every conversation, every gesture carries a sense of discovery. But over time, our curiosity fades, not because our partner becomes less interesting, but because we start believing we already know them. We replace imagination with familiarity. We stop asking questions and start assuming answers. The relationship becomes comfortable, but comfort alone doesn't sustain passion. When two people merge too completely, the erotic current that once connected them begins to flatten. Desire needs an edge, a sense that the other is still slightly out of reach, still separate enough to provoke our interest. Yet our culture teaches us to strive for total transparency. Tell me everything, share all your thoughts, let there be no secrets between us. While this openness creates intimacy, it can also unintentionally destroy eroticism. Because desire does not thrive in total knowing, it thrives in the unknown. Think about what happens when your partner is fully absorbed in something they love, playing music, painting, leading a meeting, or lost in thought. In that moment, you see them as if from a distance. You're reminded that they exist beyond you, that they belong not only to the relationship but also to the world. That glimpse of their separateness reignites curiosity. It's not that they've changed, it's that you are suddenly looking again. We often fear that too much space means emotional disconnection, but sometimes space is what allows desire to breathe. When we fuse identities, we lose the erotic tension between me and you. Without that tension, there is nothing to reach for, nothing to want. The illusion of merging feels safe, but it quietly erases the polarity that makes attraction possible. To sustain desire in a long-term relationship, we must cultivate the art of seeing our partner anew, not through the lens of routine but through the lens of wonder. We must allow for a little mystery, a little privacy, even a little distance. Because to desire someone is to recognize that they are not fully yours, they are a separate being, with thoughts, fantasies, and emotions you cannot fully access. And that very limitation, the fact that you cannot possess them entirely, is what keeps passion alive. When we stop trying to merge and start learning to witness, desire finds its way back. It's not about knowing everything about your partner, but about learning to be amazed that there is still more to discover. Desire fades not because love disappears, but because we forget to see the one we love as a mystery still unfolding. The moment we allow our partner to exist as a full, separate being, we make room for longing to return, not as nostalgia for what was, but as curiosity for what is still becoming. Desire at its core is not just physical, it is imaginative. It is a story we tell ourselves about another person, about who they are, who we are in their presence, and what could happen between us. When we fall in love, that story is rich with possibility. We project, we dream, we create. But over time, as the relationship becomes defined by routine and familiarity, that imaginative space begins to close. The relationship becomes practical, efficient, even loving, but it loses its sense of wonder. And without imagination, desire has nowhere to live. Eroticism is not simply about sex. It is the energy of aliveness, of curiosity, of play. It's what allows two people to transcend the daily grind. and meet in a space that feels alive and unpredictable. In long-term relationships, that energy often gets buried beneath responsibility. We start to relate to each other as partners in management, co-parents, bill payers, planners of daily logistics. The erotic space, which once belonged to fantasy and exploration, gets consumed by the ordinary. But the erotic isn't about the extraordinary. It's about seeing the ordinary differently. It's about turning toward the familiar and finding something new in it. Imagination allows us to transform the known into something mysterious again. The couple that can still play, tease, and dream together keeps the erotic connection alive because they refuse to let reality become the only dimension of their relationship. We often think of imagination as childish or unrealistic, but in relationships it's essential. It's what allows us to desire our partner even when we've known them for years. The person we love is not a static being. They change, evolve, grow. The problem is that we stop imagining who they're becoming. We fix them in memory rather than meeting them in the moment. And when we stop seeing our partner as a mystery, desire fades not because passion dies, but because perception stops. Eroticism reclaims that perception. It says, I see you, but I also allow myself to not fully know you. It welcomes ambiguity, it invites fantasy, it recognizes that desire is fueled not by certainty, but by possibility. You can't force that energy, but you can nurture it. By bringing playfulness back into your interactions, by creating moments of surprise, by allowing silence, distance, or unpredictability to exist. The truth is, eroticism lives in contrast. It lives between what is and what could be, between closeness and distance, between the known and the imagined. That's why desire feels so alive in the beginning, because it's full of possibility. And it's also why it feels harder to sustain, because over time we trade possibility for predictability. To reignite desire, we must reawaken imagination, the willingness to look again, to be curious again, to bring creativity back into connection. It's not about constant novelty or performance, but about seeing with fresh eyes and allowing fantasy to coexist with reality. When we stop imagining, we stop desiring. To keep the spark alive in long-term love, we must protect the space where fantasy, curiosity, and play still exist, because that space is not where we escape reality, but where we remember what it means to feel alive within it. In long-term relationships, one of the quietest ways desire begins to fade is when we lose ourselves in the name of love. In the early stages, merging feels intoxicating. We want to be together all the time, to share everything, to erase the line between you and me. But as the years go by, that loss of individuality begins to cost us something vital, the very sense of self that once made us desirable in the first place. Desire doesn't thrive where identity dissolves. It thrives where two people stand as whole beings, close enough to connect, yet separate enough to see each other clearly. When one or both partners begin to disappear into the roles of the relationship, caretaker, provider, parent, problem solver, the energy between them shifts from passion to obligation. The erotic spark needs individuality. It needs difference. Without it, we become companions instead of lovers, managers instead of explorers. Often this happens quietly. You wake up one day and realize that the person you've become inside your relationship is not the same person you once were. Your interests, your ambitions, your playfulness, they've been softened, reshaped, or silenced to maintain harmony. It feels responsible, even loving, but it comes with an invisible cost. You begin to feel smaller, and when you shrink yourself, desire has less to work with. Because desire feeds on vitality, not compliance. It needs the energy of someone who is fully alive. We sometimes mistake self-sacrifice for love. We think, if I give up more of myself, if I make myself available, agreeable, and accommodating, I'll be loved more deeply. But desire doesn't respond to that. It doesn't awaken in the presence of neediness or conformity. It awakens in the presence of selfhood. When we are drawn to someone who stands on their own 2 feet, with their own passions, their own world, their own center of gravity. Reclaiming the self within a relationship isn't about rebellion or selfishness. It's about remembering that you are a person before you are a partner. It means cultivating your inner life, your interests, your friendships, your creative pursuits, the parts of you that exist beyond the relationship, because when you feel alive in your own world, you bring that aliveness back into the relationship. You become someone your partner can be curious about again. Think of desire like a current that flows between two distinct poles. If both partners collapse into one identity, the current dies. But when each person maintains their own spark, their own individuality, that current keeps moving. The paradox is that by standing apart, we create the space to come together more passionately. When you rediscover yourself, you also rediscover your capacity for desire, not just for your partner, but for life itself. The more you cultivate your individuality, the more magnetic you become, because vitality is attractive. It draws others in. It reminds them and you that love isn't about losing yourself in someone else. It's about finding yourself again and again in their presence. We keep passion alive, not by clinging to each other, but by daring to be ourselves beside each other. When two whole people meet, not out of need but out of choice, the space between them becomes electric again, because in that space, desire finally has room to breathe. Communication is one of the most misunderstood aspects of intimacy. We're told that good communication is the foundation of every healthy relationship, and that's true, but what most people practice isn't communication, it's coordination. We talk about what's for dinner, who's picking up the kids, what needs fixing, what's next on the calendar. These conversations sustain the partnership, but they rarely nourish the connection. They build cooperation, not passion. Real communication, the kind that keeps desire alive, goes beyond the functional. It's not about managing the logistics of life together. It's about revealing the parts of ourselves that are less comfortable, less predictable, and sometimes less acceptable, the parts that carry our fears, our longings, our fantasies, and our contradictions. Many couples stop speaking this deeper language over time because it feels risky. What if my partner doesn't understand? What if they judge me? What if what I want disrupts the fragile balance we've created? So we stay silent. We choose harmony over honesty, predictability over vulnerability, and slowly, a quiet distance begins to form. Not because love is gone, but because our emotional truth has gone unspoken. Desire requires aliveness, and aliveness requires truth. When we suppress our inner worlds, we dull our own emotional vitality, the courage to communicate desire. Not just affection, but longing, curiosity, even dissatisfaction, keeps the relationship awake. It reminds both partners that they are still in motion, still discovering each other. It creates tension, and tension is not the enemy of desire. It is the soil in which it grows. Think about the last time you had a truly vulnerable conversation with your partner, not about chores or plans, but about who you've become, what you're afraid of, what you miss, what you secretly crave. Those moments, as uncomfortable as they may be, are where intimacy breathes. They allow your partner to meet you not as the version they think they know, but as the person you are right now. It takes courage to speak honestly about desire. It means admitting that there are things you want that your partner might not share. It means revealing your inner contradictions, the tension between comfort and adventure, love and independence, safety and risk. But when two people can hold space for those truths without collapsing into fear or shame, something powerful happens. The relationship becomes more alive, not less secure. The honesty that could have divided you begins to deepen connection instead. In the end, the conversations that keep passion alive are rarely the easy ones. They are the ones that touch the raw edges of our humanity, where we risk being misunderstood but choose to speak anyway. It's there, in the openness to be seen and to see, that desire finds its voice again. Because communication isn't just about words, it's about daring to bring the invisible into the light, to name what we feel before it hardens into distance. Desire doesn't fade because we stop loving. It fades because we stop speaking from the truth of who we are. When we learn to communicate beyond comfort, we don't just keep the relationship alive, we keep ourselves alive within it. There's a beautiful but often uncomfortable truth about long-term relationships. Desire isn't something we find once and keep forever. It's something we must continually create, nurture, and rediscover. Love and desire live in a constant dance, one rooted in connection, the other in curiosity, and that dance never ends. The moment we think we've mastered it, it shifts again. Because both love and desire are alive, and anything that is alive must be tended to with awareness and care. In the beginning, everything feels effortless. We are intoxicated by novelty, captivated by the unknown. But as time passes, we start to believe that the relationship has reached its final form, that love should now be steady, predictable, certain. Yet in seeking security, we often forget that desire thrives in uncertainty. It doesn't want everything to be known, it wants to keep discovering. Long-term desire isn't about maintaining constant intensity or chasing the same passion we felt at the start. It's about staying awake, to ourselves, to our partner, and to the space between us. It's about realizing that the person we love will continue to evolve, and that we too will keep changing. The couples who sustain desire are the ones who learn to meet each other again and again, as if for the first time, with curiosity instead of assumption. Many relationships struggle because people believe the initial fire should last forever, as though desire is proof of love. But desire isn't proof. It's participation. It's the active choice to remain engaged, to keep imagining, to keep seeing your partner through eyes that are open, not clouded by routine. It's choosing to reawaken what familiarity can sometimes dull. The ongoing dance between love and desire is not about balance in the mathematical sense. It's about rhythm. There will be seasons of closeness and seasons of distance. There will be times when love feels deep and steady, and times when desire flickers quietly in the background. That's not failure. That's aliveness. The challenge is not to demand perpetual excitement, but to cultivate the conditions where it can reappear. To do that, we must allow for space, not emotional distance born of resentment, but intentional distance that invites perspective. We must allow mystery back into the relationship. We must let go of the idea that knowing everything about our partner guarantees connection. Sometimes the most loving thing we can do is to let the person we love surprise us. This dance requires humility. The humility to understand that love is not ownership and that desire can't be forced. It asks us to keep returning again and again, with curiosity and courage, knowing that passion doesn't live in certainty, but in the unknown. When we understand that love and desire are not opposites but companions, we stop trying to eliminate tension and start learning to move with it. That's where relationships come alive. In the movement, in the mystery, in the dance itself. The secret to lasting desire is not holding on but learning to see again. When we treat love as a living, breathing dance, one that needs both closeness and distance, knowing and mystery, we stop chasing the spark and start becoming the fire. Desire in a long-term relationship is not a mystery to be solved, but a story to be continually written. It's the art of balancing the comfort of love with the thrill of discovery, the warmth of familiarity with the spark of mystery. When we stop expecting love to do the work of desire, we open ourselves to the truth that passion is not lost with time. It's renewed through presence, curiosity, and courage. Every long-term relationship asks us to keep choosing, to choose to see our partner anew, to choose to bring imagination into the ordinary, to choose to stay alive in our own inner world so we can meet our partner from a place of fullness, not emptiness. Desire doesn't fade because love grows old. It fades because we forget to stay awake. So if you take one thing from this, let it be this. Desire lives where freedom and connection coexist. It is not about fixing your relationship, but about nurturing the aliveness within it and within yourself. Thank you for watching. Take a moment today to look at the person you love or the person you're becoming with new eyes. Stay curious, stay brave, and take care.